Martin Stuchtey joins me now. So he is director of the McKinsey Centre for Business and Environment, and I know that you're talking to the forum later on today about the circular economy. An important concept, of course, in terms of thinking about saving natural resources, saving actually hard, cold euros, and generating income, generating jobs. What will be your message to the forum, Martin, today?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that towards a circular economy in agriculture comes a bit as an oxymoron in the first place, because you would consider that all industrial systems, circular industrial systems, would be modeled after agriculture. But that's not true. The way we have been developing agriculture over the last 100 years, it is in fact a story of massive resource intensification. So every year we have been increasing the amount of diesel fuel by 3.5%, that we need the amount of pesticides by 2%, the amount of fertilizer by 2%. So largely, apart from some land expansion, it's very much a story of resource intensification. It's a very successful story. So over the last 100 years, the agricultural sector has exploded and is delivering very good results to society. But increasingly, we are seeing that there are shortcomings, and we need to address them, and we need to have a good answer for that. And essentially, we have two fundamental choices. The linear economy, we know it very well, and it's well tested. And the circular economy, which has been tested for millennia, but it hasn't been tested in the face of 9 billion, and it has not been tested at scale.
You have a business hat on and a farming hat on, so you come at it from both sides. I mean, we've talked before at this forum about sustainable intensification. I mean, is that part of, so this is not a new idea, is that part of what the circular economy is all about, and agriculture knows about that well?
I think there are many terms out there between conservation agriculture, sustainable agriculture, green agriculture, circular economy in economies, and we shouldn't get lost in too much jargon. At the same time, reminding ourselves of the very basic principles that on the one hand, natural capital is something that needs to be managed with the same rigor as we would manage any asset that we're using for our business, and that we can only take what we return. And that once we have taken things into economic use, we have to make sure that we are keeping it at the highest quality, at the highest value all the time. And lastly, that we are avoiding leakage from the system. Currently, we are losing 50%, for example, of our vegetable or fruit production, even in Europe. So whilst all of that sounds very straightforward, I think it's a very good framework to remind ourselves that there is an input-output relationship in which we live with nature that we can't walk away from. And the circular economy is providing a bit of language to remind us of that and help us to manage it.
I mean, the logic is clear, and yet once policy frameworks and European policy gets involved, it does become a more complicated world. And looking at circular economy and how proposals have stalled for that is a good example there. That must be a frustration, that must be a dilemma. How do forums like these go about trying to solve some of these thorny issues?
I think on the one hand we need to fully understand what the agenda is, what the levers are, and how to step by step move the system to more recognize the value of natural capital and improve our understanding of how to manage it well in such a way that farms can be profitable and that our customers are getting the right amount and the high quality of food that they demand and that they deserve. On top of that, I'm starting to think that we also, like any revolution, this revolution sort of needs inflection points or trigger points. And we need to ask ourselves what these trigger points could be. Sort of where is our Tesla moment on this agenda, or where is our 2020 moment on this agenda? Where is the Stern report for this agenda? And I think amongst all the sectors that I have seen, and it's part of my profession to look into many different sectors, this is the sector where we have an earth-shaking disproportion between the importance it has to us, because agriculture is feeding us, and our economic understanding of some of those essentials. We are not able to say what share of the loss of growth that we have in yields and staple cross yields globally, what share of that actually goes back to exhausted soil. which should be as fundamental as a question can be. So we need to get much better in that. And so bringing the economic case of an alternative agriculture model to bear, I think, is something that so far we have been collectively failing on, and that's something that we could remind ourselves on a forum like today.
How important is a forum like today in looking at finding those moments, those levers, those triggers?
Look, I mean, I have the luxury of living in a very simple world, and it's my profession sort of to write down the facts and the different levers that one could take. And what we are discovering again and again is that out of the many things you can do, there are a few that are highly controversial, but there are many that are fairly accessible to common sense. And I think what something like this can do is to bring all those opinions together and to identify this huge terrain of common sense issues and to start working on them. And I think this is something that this forum does very nicely, the way it's actually bringing people into a deep, informed dialogue about the 80% of things we should start doing together, and rather than getting ourselves worked up with the 20%, we should leave that for later.
Martin, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. You absolutely can. A last message, please.
I think that this agenda needs visionary leadership, and we are short of visionary leaders. One of the leaders in this agenda has been Nolan Kaparov. He is has been the environmental minister of Kazakhstan, one of the largest nations on earth, agriculture nations on earth. He tragically died 4 days ago. And that leaves a tragic loss to his family, to his friends, and to everyone who believes that there must be a better future beyond the business as usual. And I'm dedicating my speech to Nolan Kaparov today.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck with it. Thanks, Martin.